This is Alejandro Ibrahim interviewing Miss Jawharah Hayes for the HBCU Radio Preservation Project. It is 9:37 on July 11th, 2024. This interview is being recorded at North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. So, to begin the process, could you please state your full name and relationship to the station?
Yes, so my name is Jawharah Hayes. I am the digital media producer here at WNCU, and I'm also the radio host of the Tuesday and Thursday Evening Jazz.
Okay, that's good. So, could you tell me when and where you were born and about the people who raised you?
So, I was born June 6, 2001, a Gemini in Greensboro, North Carolina. And about the people that raised me, my mom and my dad, they're both amazing people. I look up to them. They're both very strong people. So I think they just raise a person that just go for what they want. They just always taught me that it might sound cliche, but you can do whatever you want or achieve whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it. And my dad always told me, Jawharah means jewel, it means gem, and it means more precious than a diamond. So I walk in that being more precious than a diamond and holding myself like that.
Okay, very good, very good. What did your parents or caretakers do for work? What was their professions?
So my mom is a beautician. She's actually a cosmetologist instructor, and my dad, at the time, he is a counselor, or I would say like he worked for group homes and worked in like child services. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. So you say you're from Greensboro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Greensboro.
Okay.
So tell me about your childhood. Where did you grow up? How would you describe that place? Greensboro has a lot to talk about, so I want to hear it.
Okay, so I was raised on, I would say more so like the south side of Greensboro. My childhood was very fun. It was very, free. I really can say I had a good childhood. And I would say it was more so on the side. If you know Greensboro, I would say it's kind of like near the Cookout, near Randleman Road. And yeah, my mom, she was raised on the south side as well. My dad is from Winston, so he's not too familiar, but he was acclimated with Greensboro. And honestly, my childhood was just fun. My mom learning like makeup and doing hair and stuff, doing girly things, that was always fun to me. And then also there's a side to my dad where he's like more sporty, and I think that's where I get kind of like that adventurous side, that risk taking side from, to just go for things. So yeah.
Okay, that's good. Do you have any siblings?
Yes, so I have 3 sisters and 1 brother.
Okay. Are you the middle, oldest, youngest?
I'm the middle.
You're the middle?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm the middle.
Okay, that's good. What schools did you attend? And what was your favorite subject growing up?
So, elementary school, I attended Murphy Traditional Academy in Greensboro. Middle school, Kaiser Middle School. And then for high school, Dudley High School. James Benson Dudley High School, matter of fact. And my favorite subject was actually math. And honestly, I would also say a little bit of history as well. And preferably African American history.
Okay.
But yeah, those were my favorite subjects. And
I know James B. Dudley is named after a famous black man who was an entrepreneur in Greensboro.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk a lot about him, the Dudley name, big products and everything. Did that history of that school translate into some of your current work, future work, and also how you viewed yourself as a student going there?
So, honestly, with the history of Greensboro and the history of Dudley, being that it was kind of during the civil rights movement and the Greensboro 4, and a lot of history did take place at Dudley, like Dudley students. And I just feel like with the history there at my high school, those people during that time, they had to fight for what they want, and they had to, push so the future, which is us now, can be able to access the things that they didn't have. So I think that was very special, the history from Greensboro and from James Benson Dudley and Mr. James Benson Dudley himself, just pushing and doing more so that we can experience it in the future for the generations to come. Also, as a student, I was very active in high school.
Okay.
So cheerleading to the Earth Club, to, I wouldn't really say SGA, but like the homecoming committee and homecoming queen. And I was just always running for things, always trying to put myself out there, exploring, talking to people. So yeah.
That's good. What are your earliest memories of radio growing up? What stations did you listen to? I'm sure you probably listened to 102 Jams, you know. So what did you hear in Greensboro?
Yeah, so 102 Jams is, I think it's a big deal in Greensboro. I think everybody in Greensboro know of 102 Jams. I think they're very big in the community, and they really get out and really give back, I should say. You'll always see them, whether it's a car show or a prom or just at a regular, I would say maybe like a community shop or shopping center, expressing and giving people opportunities to express entrepreneurship and resources that they have out in the community. And I thought that was a very cool thing listening to on radio. And I knew growing up I always want to do something involving music, involving, people and communications and talking to people. So I think growing up and listening to 102 Jams and hearing the personalities and how they make radio fun and how they are personable with people, that is what makes it special. That's what makes radio special. So yeah.
Do you listen to any other stations or?
So, honestly, not really.
Really?
Not really. Or if I did, I don't really remember. Maybe it was something that my parents put on, but I guess by choice, it was 102 Jams for me.
Okay. So, describe your college experience for me. You attended North Carolina State University?
Yes.
I'm correct. So, how was that experience and how that translate into radio?
So my experience here at North Carolina Central University, it was actually different because I came in at a time where the pandemic hit. So I think how that correlates, my experience correlate to radio is doing everything through technology. Communicating through technology, whether it's us having Zoom classes, whether we had to record things on our phone and send them to professors. Just everything was like through technology, and it was a big difference, but I think it made everybody kind of dive into being more like tech savvy in a way, and exploring and figuring out what they like to do. And I think during that time as well, even though it's not radio, but everybody was on TikTok, and I even think like that was very tech savvy with everybody doing stuff for fun. And it just reminded me of like radio is still something that is for fun. It's still like a form of expression, a form of you putting yourself out there to millions of people that are listening. And I think that's how my experience was kind of with college, of going through media and going through technology to express, to put out work and all of those things. So
that's good. Can you also talk about some of the memories? Homecoming. I know there's Fried Chicken Wednesdays. The parties that would occur. Some of the the culture to Central that you experienced.
Yeah. So the culture to Central. I would say freshman year, I tried to run for things at SGA. No, I didn't get it, but it didn't stop me from exploring Central. Being somebody that's from Greensboro, when you move out to a whole different city and you're not around your parents, it's like, oh, I can really do whatever I want to do now. So, navigating, making friends, talking to people, homecoming was like, it was just fun. I can't even put it into words, but it just felt like a big family reunion. That's how I can really try to sum it up to the most. But it's people, alumni coming back. People are gathering on the Greek Bowl. We're doing countdowns, and you're having fun with your friends. And just the culture is just so rich, and it's just so family oriented that I don't know if I would experience this at any other HBCU, honestly. And coming from Greensboro, where everything is all about, our rival school. I'm not going to mention them, but our rival school, and then coming somewhere else, it's like, oh, this is really nice to get a different experience than what you're used to or what you've seen from your hometown. And I think homecoming, great experience. The calf, eating lunch with your friends, meeting up, deciding what outfit you're going to put on. Because you can't come to Fried Chicken Wednesday without a fresh fit on. That's your time to show out. But, it's just fun. I think HBCUs, a lot of people don't really understand, but it is very, family oriented. And it's just something that you can't describe or get anywhere else.
Do you think that going to HBCU during COVID gave you a different experience?
I do feel like it gave me a different experience. Sometimes I do feel like I was robbed of a real college experience because freshman year, half of my college experience as far as my spring semester was cut off. Then sophomore year, everybody was quarantined or certain people just didn't come back. I think that was a different demeanor of how things went. And it was different. Junior year, everyone started coming back, and it started to try to feel like it wanted to be the same or wanted to be, how it was before COVID. But it wasn't, just because, COVID, you do have to follow a lot of protocols as far as safety. And I do think Central did a very good job when it comes to safety and making sure that every student was prepared, that they can get what they need if they did catch COVID. I did catch COVID on campus, and that was a different experience, having a quarantine in a dorm room. But everybody was really understanding. The professors, they're all understanding. And
yeah, that's good. So, attended Central, and now you're in radio. So describe your first job in radio, and what did it feel like?
My first job in radio, it was actually nerve-wracking. So with my experience, like I said, I'm a person that I will be a go-getter. And even though I can say sometimes I was a little stagnant or hesitant, because sometimes you kind of experience imposter syndrome, and feeling like you can't do something, but at the same time you won't know unless you try. So with me getting into radio, I was a student. I volunteered to do a fundraiser for the radio station. One of my professors actually put it out there that we should volunteer to get community service hours, to do the fundraiser and help out with the radio station here at WNCU. So I went for it. I met up with the program director, who was the shift coordinator at the time, and I just expressed my interest for radio and what I love about it, and he really took that as the opportunity of, well, if you're really interested, then you can come in and you can shadow and we can teach you some things. And I took that opportunity and I ran with it. So I showed up every day of the summer, every morning, I came and I listened to the Mark Miller morning jazz show, and he kind of just taught me everything. So from voice tracking to, writing scripts to put on air, to just being comfortable and getting relaxed with the mic, learning the soundboard and how that goes, and just you gotta sound personable, and you gotta be you, and you gotta be authentic when it comes to radio. And most importantly, it's just like these people, they really love you for being you. So you can't sound like nobody else. You can't want to steal somebody else's sound. You just go in and you be authentic, and you enjoy the process. And that's how I got into radio, and it just feels surreal because my plans were always radio. That's always like a career that I wanted to dive into. So I just think, honestly, it's just my prayers being answered and manifesting that you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Amen. You talked a little bit about the training process. How was that like? Who were some of your mentors that helped you in radio?
Alright, so my mentors were Mark Muller, the host of Morning Jazz. He really took like my enthusiasm and was like, okay, this person is really interested, and they really want to learn about it. So even with that, the process is you gotta want to learn, and you gotta be curious, and you gotta ask questions, and it's really not that hard getting into it as long as you're interested in it. If you don't have no interest in it, it's gonna be hard and it's gonna be boring to you. But honestly, the process, it was fairly easy. And he was a big mentor to me. I also stayed for DL Underdew's show. And she was one of my professors that actually recommended the fundraiser to me. So I just looked at her as a mentor even before getting into radio. Because, she's a professor, and she helped with the audio production, because that was the class that she was teaching at the time. But audio production and working on speaking and articulating and just talking to the mic and talking to the people and being comfortable with who you're talking to and what you're talking about. So I look at them as mentors. They really helped my process into becoming a radio host and personality. And if I could ever recommend students or students that want to do radio, I would definitely put their name out there first. Because I think what made it also easy is you got to have people that's understanding and that will help you as long as you want to be helped.
That's important. So, how would you describe your initial experiences in HBCU radio?
In HBCU radio. So, honestly, it was fun. Now, we are a jazz station, but not limited to jazz. We do blues, R&B, gospel, funk, and now we have a new hip-hop show, an old school hip-hop show. So, with that, easing into HBCU radio, for one, it's already a comfort there because it's a HBCU, in my opinion, and that's probably just because I'm African American. So it was already a feeling or a sense of community as far as joining a station here at a HBCU. For one, also these stations on campuses, they want to help their students. They want to help and they want to see us as students grow and persevere into the career that we desire. Like I said, mine was always radio. So getting into that, and also when you start actually speaking to people and speaking on the mic and on the air, it's like, okay, this is not that bad. And also jazz music, it correlates to, it's not just blackness and freedom, but when it was coming up, it was a lot of, people expressing themselves, especially during the Renaissance era, people having a form of expression and not feeling stuck. So just being able to dive into a jazz radio station at a HBCU, I feel like it feels like their legacy that they created is being ever long lasting, and we are pushing it out, and it will live forever as long as we keep going and keep pushing it out there. So that's how I feel about HBCU radio and getting into it and feeling a sense of comfort. And even like when you receive your first phone call and people were calling me and they're like, "You're new, but you sound good," and I kind of like it. And that's kind of exciting because at first you're like, okay, am I doing good? I might sound nervous one day. I might, stutter sometimes, but to have that reassurance of you are doing a good job and we're listening and keep going, that's a good feeling. And that's how I would describe it.
That's good. So what issue do you remember covering on your station, and what felt important to you?
You said issues? So, I don't necessarily cover issues. We primarily just stick to the jazz. Now, we do have informational, news informationals that we put on our station. That would be like Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman. And they bring up real life issues. And sometimes we do have programs and stories where we have people talk about real life issues. And I think it's very important. I wouldn't say I necessarily address it, but I think it's good to have that out there because radio is still a form of putting information out. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have technology, or before technology, it was radio and TV. And that's how we get our news. That's how we get our information of what's going on in the world. And I just think that radio should be a long-lasting thing. And at the end of the day, when someone takes away all the technology or the Wi-Fi that we have, we'll still have radio. And that'll still be our source of information and getting real life issues out.
That's really important, really big. How would you describe a typical listener to your station or your program specifically?
So I would say the typical listener to my program, they are people that are interested in jazz, people that are, I would say I'm kind of energetic on my show. So people that like to have fun. I always start off my show with get ready to tap your feet to the jazz beats because we're going to have a good time listening to the evening show. I mean, even though that's time where it's like, okay, it might be time to go to bed, but let's have a good dance party before it's time to go to bed. So I would just say my typical listener, they like to have fun. They like to feel like they are actually in the studio with me, dancing and just being energetic and playing the great music that we have.
Okay. And so how have you or your station program cultivated a listener identity?
So I would say to a certain extent it's kind of hard because I'm still exploring, I'm still learning, and I'm still figuring it out, but at the same time I think I got the gist of it. And I just feel like, honestly, it just comes with being authentic and having people, I think having those people call me and tell me what they like and tell me the things that they want to hear more of or just hear less of, that cultivate everything that is into my program. I also feel like my program is made specifically for me. And my energy as well. I do think we play a lot of great music. I think my program is also very fun, very up-tempo, and up to beat. And I think it just matched my personality and identity as a personality. And the listeners, they really enjoy hearing that from me.
Do you think it's up to beat because of your youth, for example? Because of also you being an HBCU grad, do you think that plays into the effect?
Um, Honestly, it could play into the fact. I mean, I don't think I'm the only energetic host here, but it could play into the youthfulness and what I bring that's new. Like, I've had people call me and they're like, I never heard someone sound so energetic, even though we do have some energetic people here. They're like, you just sound so energetic, young, and like you really want to explore and put it out to more of the youth here, because jazz is a base of a lot of music. And I think a lot of people that are, I would say, Generation Z's favorite artists, they incorporate jazz in their music. And I don't think that a lot of people know that. And it's just a beauty of music and listening and putting that out there. And just also, people are just like, what, or the calls I receive, they're like, well, you sound really good. I can't wait to see what's more to come from you. And I feel like with the route that you're going, you can bring in a whole new level, a whole new group of listeners and people that want to explore, especially the youth.
Okay. So, what is your proudest accomplishment at this station?
So my proudest accomplishment. So recently, my supervisor, she presented an opportunity to me, and it was actually a conference, and it was called the Future Now Media Conference, and that would be like my proudest accomplishment here. Feeling like I get to go to a conference that is made for recent grads and students. And it was just wonderful. It was a amazing conference, and I got to go to New York and stay out there for about a week and just kind of express what I do and also learn other media outlets and take advice from people that are still in this world of media from different perspectives. And I think that was a beautiful thing, because it is a process where you have to apply and you have to get chosen and picked. And for a long time, I didn't get anything from them. But on the last day of, like, I think it was the end of registration, I got an email and they're like, you're chosen to come to the Future Now Media and Entertainment Conference. And that would probably be my proudest moment, diving into a new world of media. And I wouldn't necessarily say new world, but an extension to media outlets, and learning about TV programming and, listeners and, what is the word? Analytics and monetization and marketing and all of those things that play into media and that we can incorporate into radio. I think that was just a beautiful thing to see and to experience. And I just hope that other students can experience the same thing that I have.
That's good. And so, what lessons have you learned working in radio?
So, working in radio. So, first and foremost, I learned to just be yourself. And I know I probably said that a lot, but when I was first initially here and learning, I was like, okay, this is radio. I need to talk like this, and I need to sound like calm and just talk normal and slow and soothing. But at the same time, I'm like, well, no. Me, as Jay Simone of Tuesday and Thursday night evening jazz, I'm going to be energetic and I'm going to sound like myself, and I'm going to, really show these people who I am. Even though they're listening through audio, they still get a sense of how I am in person. So I think that that's a beautiful thing for people to experience, and, it's different, but genuinely, I would just say, just be yourself and be curious about things and take notes. Take notes. I would also say take notes, because you can also learn from other people as well.
Okay. And so, mind you, if I'm correct, you just graduated college.
Yes, so I graduated December 2023.
December 2023. So this is your first job.
Yes.
Okay. So, being that you just graduated and you're looking at, I'm sure you come across young people in the classroom now, what wisdom would you pass down to that young student who was just like you, who's thinking about getting into radio? And what would you pass down to that student, wanting to be an HBCU broadcaster?
Okay, so what I would pass down, I would say go explore and go learn. At first, I didn't know about WNCU when I first came. I really kind of just found out, I would say, about my junior year that WNCU was located on Central's campus and that we had a radio station. So go explore, go ask questions, go introduce yourself to people. Also, when you introduce yourself to people, follow up with them, build relationships and connections, and not, yes, you can benefit from them, but also I think don't go into it looking for a handout. Genuinely build and grow, because these people, they're people just like us, and they have experience, or they have experienced the same thing that we have when they were students once. But you have to go and put yourself out there and build a relationship and follow up with that relationship. I've learned that even though you might message somebody and if they don't respond to you, that's okay. People are busy and sometimes they just don't have the time. It don't mean that they're ignoring you, but just follow up and keep being, I would say, consistent. Consistency goes a long way. People seeing that you're willing to learn go a long way. I will also say at the conference that I went to, I've gathered a note that I feel like was very beautiful. I had someone tell me that they had someone that wanted to work for their company, and they had everything that they wanted on paper. They knew how to do everything they wanted on paper. But it was a person that used to walk by their office every day and just speak to everybody in the company, and they never went to school, but they were a freelance graphic designer. He said he chose the person that spoke to them every day and that never went to school and gave him a job, rather than picking the other person that have everything on paper but didn't really want to build relationships. So with that being said, you don't have to know everything. You just got to be willing to learn. And just persevere and be consistent and show up. And that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's very good. So what makes this HBCU community special? What makes Central's community special?
So Central is special because Central is just a beautiful place where I feel like we all look out for each other. I think at the end of the day, even if, people are into their own departments or have their own friend groups, at the end of the day, we're a community and we all look out for each other, and it is very family oriented. Also, the people here are very friendly. I don't think I ever met a rude person here at Central. And if someone is firm, it's for the betterment of you. They just want to push you. The people here, the faculty, the students, the staff, everybody is so nice and friendly and warm. And it might sound cliche because other HBCUs might say the same thing, but at the same time, the community here and the way that people really do look out for each other is beyond words. And it's just a rich community. It's also a fun community. People just want to have a good time, and we do have great times. And it's just beautiful to see that and to continue that on for the generations and the students to come. That when you come to Central, you're coming to a home outside of home. You're coming to a family that will be everlasting. You're stepping into a world where you can literally soar and be the best you. So that's how I would express my love for Central, and it's beyond words, really.
Okay. What is important to you about this station personally?
What's important to me? Well, this station, for one, I think I just ultimately will always love WNCU, not only because they gave me my first opportunity, but the people here are they're very like, I would say like family. And I love the sense of having jazz, and even though I'm new to jazz, I never really listened to much jazz, and I would say I'm exploring the beauty of it. But it is a beauty within it, and it is something that I would say is kind of like a synonym of life. Jazz is, freedom. Jazz is improvising. Jazz is beautiful. Jazz is everlasting. And I would look at life that same way. And also with this station, the community, we have a small team, but we work together and we get things done and we communicate. And honestly, that's all I could really ask for. And it's fun. It's not like a station where we don't do fun stuff. We go on group outings. We go to do bonding activities, and we just get to really explore each other and build connections outside of the station as well. So yeah.
What makes this station valuable to the community and its listeners?
So I would say that WNCU is always wanting to do something for the community, and we do, whether that is us doing a festival or us giving away certain gifts and merch that we have. We have a couple events that are coming up. We do the playlist concert series, which is free to the community, because we just want to have everybody in the community come together and enjoy different artists and different genres of music, and feel that sense of warmth and fun and freedom. And that's every first Friday of the month, from May to October. And then we have more stuff coming up. We have like backpack giveaways for students. We do, giving out to the community, going to elementary schools and doing career days. So just reaching out to people and letting them know that, hey, we're here and we want to help and we want to give back as much as we can. So I think that's the beauty in giving back to the community and what we do for it.
Okay. How would you define black radio?
Black radio, I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily say black radio, because everybody here is, I'm just being transparent, but everybody at our station isn't necessarily black.
Oh, no, I mean more like, black syndicates, like, WNCU is ran by HBCU.
Okay.
Yeah, 102 Jams ran by, it's mostly created for black people by black people.
Okay, well, I would describe it as just a form of expression and freedom, and having somewhere where you can listen to people and feel a sense of, oh, that's my friend, or that sounds like my aunt, or that sounds like my best friend, and having a sense of building relations with people through media and through audio, with radio, when it comes to radio. And I feel like that's a good feeling, because I want people to listen to me and be like, oh, that sounds like my little sister, or that sounds like my granddaughter. And I'm just like, okay, that's where I feel like the black radio part plays essence in, because when you feel connected to something, that makes you want to listen and contribute and keep supporting it. And that's how I would describe black radio. And it just gives you a sense of, these are my people, or this is something that was made for me. So yeah.
What does HBCU radio mean to you?
HBCU radio mean to me, It means, honestly, it just means that, well, to me, it means that it's beauty in having a place for HBCUs, for students, for people in our community, for learning, to expressing, and just feeling a sense of home through the station, through the HBCU itself. When we go out and people see, yes, we have a big logo that says WNCU, but when people see our setup in our tents, they're like, oh, that's North Carolina Central University. I have to support. So I think that's the beauty in having a radio station that's under HBCU, and connecting with people and having them want to connect with us because we are located at HBCU as well.
Okay. Okay. And so, how did students get creative in their programming or on air personas here at this station?
So, well, I'm not too positive, but I'm going to say, as far as right now, I'm the only recent student that we have that is a on-air personality. So, being creative, it just comes with who you are as a person. Also, we do have student interns, and some of them have displayed interest in, okay, I would like to be a personality, or I would like to do a podcast. And that just comes with, okay, well, what are things that you like? How would you like to sound, and how would you like people to connect with you? And then how would you like to make that fun or entertaining for your people? And I think it just depends on the type of person you are. Like me, I'm energetic and I like to have fun and like to dance and like to get my listeners moving, to where there's another host where they're like, they want to do things more in a informational way of, expressing and telling who the artist is and their background and the music, and connecting through a different and maybe a more deeper level of jazz, a more informational level of jazz, and having like the students pick what matches their personality and what matches their persona of how they would want to express themselves. I think that's what makes it creative.
And what opportunities do HBCU radio stations for Black hosts and employees, from your experience here?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
What opportunities do HBCU radio stations afford Black hosts and employees?
So, I mean, a lot when it comes to HBCU radio, or radio in general, but we're talking about HBCU radio. So, opportunities, they always show up. Honestly, it's about going for it, and it's about wanting to do it and putting yourself out there to do it. So I would say really, you just gotta go for it. You never know what comes up. A lot of people come and go within radio. I mean, life happens. Some people just can't do it all the time, and some people would love to do it all the time. We have people to where, some people are retired and they love coming in and, building a connection through the community, through media and through radio, versus me, where I was a student. I was a student in doing radio, so exploring classes, doing classes, but yet coming in to do my evening jazz show and having like another sense of, well, I can do this. This was an opportunity that was presented to me, and I'm going to take it and run with it. No matter if I have a class or if I'm tired, I'll fit some homework in there, and I'll do some homework in the middle of my show, but I'm still going to show up, and I'm still going to, take advantage of the opportunity that is being presented. So, yeah.
Okay. And so, how would you describe the political environment here on campus, and in what ways has this HBCU been a site of protest since you've been here?
So, the political side of, North Carolina Central University, I would say I don't try to get too political as far as the station, because everybody have their own views and opinions, but we just do really push our students to learn about politics and learn about what's going on in the economy, because at the end of the day, it will affect the way you hear things, the way you see things, so what you can do, what you can't do. So just be very active in learning, and we have those sites where you can learn. We would usually send them to, the School of Law, or we even have a program on the station where we have a show called The Legal Eagle, and they kind of tell what's going on in the community as far as political views and crimes and everything of that nature. So just be more informative. Listen to our station. Listen to the Legal Eagle, and getting like their take on political views that's going on as well. As far as the students, we also, like I said, have the School of Law and sending them there, or we have communication law, which also teach students about law and what's going on in politics and how you can do things and move appropriately, or smart, being in this environment and in this community.
Okay. And so, I know you haven't been there long, but what challenges did the COVID pandemic pose to doing radio? Have you heard of any?
So, I didn't experience radio during the pandemic, but, just hearing from my coworkers and my peers that work here at WNCU, they had to work from home. So, getting certain equipment for people to do shows at home, or even if it was cost for like doing a deep clean for certain people that are not really tech savvy and that have to come in the station or prefer to come in the station, they would make sure everything is clean. We always keep, microphone covers to go over the mic so nobody can, get germs or any source on the mics. Hand sanitizers, wipes, gloves. We was just very precautious. And even though I didn't really experience COVID and doing radio, I feel like the people that did, they did a good job persevering through it, because that could be a lot when you're used to something and then you have to change. And it's a uncomfortable change, but working your way through it and having a team that is understanding and supportive and that makes sure that you're doing okay and that everything is in the best interest of your health. And I think it made it very, very easy, but also kind of interesting for people to navigate radio within COVID.
Okay. And so my next question is, you're a young professional starting out. You talk about you're a go-getter, your parents raised you that way, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
What does the future hold for you in radio? Where do you see yourself in the future?
So ultimately, and I've expressed this before to my supervisor, but ultimately my dream is to become a music director. That was my ultimate goal. I also really love podcasting, but at the time I was like, well, I know how to talk, but at the same time, can I really talk on media? So learning how to become a radio host, I think that was perfect preparation, even though I didn't plan on being a radio host. I was just like, I can do my own podcast. But learning how to talk to people and being relatable and personable through a microphone, that says a lot, because not everybody can do it. And not everybody have the personality for it. But that teaching me and prepping me being a radio host. Eventually, I'm like, okay, well, maybe one day I could start up my own podcast and talk about things that, I feel are important to me, and, the lifestyle and community of wherever I will be in the future. Also, being a music director, I did shadow the music director we have here. So, learning a little bit more, not overstepping, but shadowing and, learning step by step, being in the space where I can do that is very important to me because it kind of gives me the experience, even though it's not my position. Also, I just love music, so even though I'm new to being a jazz listener, jazz learner, and jazz lover, I would say jazz. I realize jazz really is the base, and like I was saying before, although a lot of people may not know that jazz is the base of some of their favorite artists' music, it really is when strip all the hip hop sounds and R&B slow jams and the acoustic sounds away. You're like, okay, I hear that trumpet in the back. I hear that pitch of the saxophone playing, the drums, having like a steady beat, the bass. You can play just about any song with a bass and recognize it. So, like, just having these different instruments that are a form of jazz and learning from it and learning the music and what goes into more music that is out there, I think that's the beauty of learning and being within radio and having a future to keep going and keep learning music and wanting to be a part of it. So,
okay. And so, how do you feel about the HBCU Radio Preservation Project? Why do you think what we do is important?
well, I think what you do is very important because we have to preserve our radio stations. We have to preserve our HBCUs and preserve our HBCU radio. So I think it's very important because some people don't know about or don't really listen in to radio anymore. A lot of streaming services are very big now, but I think dialing it back and bringing it back to the foundation of radio is very important because, like I said, if we're stripped away from all technology, all Wi-Fi, you won't be able to stream things. You won't be able to get your source of information from your phone, maybe, or however, but you can always go back to a radio and get your source of information and feel, the presence of having a radio personality there to guide you along the way. Even with like traffic stops or political news, news that's going on all over the country. So I think preserving radio is very important, and preserving it at a HBCU is even more important because it's also a form of expression for HBCUs and the black community as well.
Yeah. And so, is there anything that was not making this interview that you want to add before we close?
So, I mean, not necessarily. I would just say, just keep going, be curious, tune in to your radio stations, support your local radio stations, and just keep wanting to be involved with the community and what the people around you are doing and be intentional about doing that because it always helps.
Yeah. Anyone that you want to shout out?
Well, I'll shout out Greensboro, the real 336. I'll shout out, my parents, of course, because they did a good job. My grandparents, my grandpa was a student. Both of my grandparents went to Central. So I'm kind of like a legacy student, and keeping that legacy going is also very important to me. And being that I'm a graduate here, I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of doing that. And I just want to say to everybody listening, even like my supporters, I really do appreciate them. Appreciate the feedback, appreciate the love and the support, appreciate the programming that is going out to the community. And that's it.
That's good. Well, personally, I want to thank you again for agreeing to this interview, and I just want to encourage you again to continue to keep on doing what you're doing. We see it, the community loves it. So, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.